So, agenda will be discussing about overview of cloud computing, what is cloud computing, different cloud models, and why we use cloud computing, right? So, there's a lot of buzz about cloud computing. So, in earlier days, which we say cloud time, cloud used to be cloud, right? Now, if you talk to an older guy who is pretty old, and if you tell them that I need to put my files or servers or data in cloud, you'd say, okay, give me then we must be sending that using a rocket. So that's the cloud time. It's long back, and the cloud which we are discussing has nothing to do with that. So what is cloud? There are a lot of definitions around cloud, and I want to ask each one of you, what do you mean? What do you think a cloud is, and what do you mean by cloud computing? So there are two terms here. One is cloud, and the other one is compute. So I'll be drawing a lot of stuff also. So if any one of you or one or two of you can tell me what do you mean by cloud and what do you mean by cloud computing? So cloud and then we have cloud computing. What do you mean by that? Why it is cloud? So anyone? No one? Okay. So let me first. What about computing? Anyone? Can you tell me what is computing? What is compute? When you say compute, what do you mean by that?
Performing some operations.
Right. Performing some operations using some resources. So when we say computing, you're performing some operations, some instructions using some resources at your disposal. So what are those resources? CPU and RAM, if you will. So in IT world, of course, I'm not talking. I'll not be talking about non-IT. So in IT world, when we say compute environment, we mean CPU and RAM. Storage is external. So this machine, which I'm using right now, that's a compute environment also because I'm using this GoToMeeting, I'm using the Describble, I'm using PPT. All are getting executed by my CPU, and my CPU using taking help of the RAM which is installed in this machine. So that's what a compute is. Now, over the time, in good old days, that used to be compute actually. Now over the time, the term computing has changed. After the invent of virtualization, it has changed totally. Right. So what is virtualization? Now, when I say compute or computing with something called cloud, I mean that that compute belongs to, uses, not belongs to, sorry, that uses virtualization. So what is virtualization? Now, let me give you a very simple analogy. I have a Macintosh machine or Mac OS, if you will, and I want, say, Adobe Illustrator, which should be working on Windows. Right. I have two options. One option is I go and buy a Windows laptop, Dell or HP or whatever. Go ahead and buy that. Use Adobe Illustrator on top of it. Install on top of it, and I use it. But right now, what Dell would take around, say, a good machine would take around what $700 or $1,000, and I already have a Mac machine which is around, say, $1,500. So my total cost here is $2,500. Now instead of that, I have one more option. There's something called, I think all of you know, VMware, right? So I can install VMware on my machine, and on top of VMware, I can install whatever operating system I want. It can be Windows, it can be Linux, it can be Ubuntu also on top of Mac. So all this is Windows OS. This is say Linux, any flavor, to say Slackware, Debian, Fedora, whatever. This is Ubuntu. So now Suppose you have a requirement wherein you need all these operating systems. So again, there are two choices. One is you go ahead and buy multiple laptops. So you'll have or multiple machines for that matter. So you'll have four machines altogether, or else you install VMware, and on top of VMware you install all these operating systems and use it as if you're working on Windows. So this is called virtualization, right? So I'll discuss these terms again in more detail when we go to AWS. So now computing, as I said, over the time it has evolved a lot. Now in the cloud uh, perspective, computing is computing using virtualization. Here also we have four different compute environments. I mean, if you are a guy and if you are someone and you want a Windows operating system from me, I can give you this virtual machine. If say Keerti wants a Linux operating system, I can give Keerti this one. Or say Atul wants Ubuntu, I can give Atul this one. You won't know whether it is a virtual machine or not, but I know because I'm running all these three on top of VMware, or it is also called hypervisor. So for you, all these three are individual compute environments, but all these three are using resources which are there: RAM, CPU are getting used from this Mac OS itself, right? So this is also compute platform, but compute using virtualization. So if I again redefine the term uh, for the topics we're discussing right now, which is cloud computing. So computing would be compute using virtualization, right? That is computing. Now, very simple terms, virtualization. That's it. You're using your infrastructure. You're virtualizing your infrastructure. In this case, it is compute. Okay. Now coming back to cloud. What is cloud? Anyone? Anything will do.
It's a service provider that provides networking volumes, etc., etc.
Okay. I got it. I got a word here. Networking. Okay. Anyone else?
Shared services.
Shared services. Okay. That is
Service.
cloud.
Internet?
Right. Exactly. Cloud is this thing. If it is public, if it is private. I think all of you know what is internet and what is intranet. So cloud is a fancy name of internet or intranet. Depending what kind of deployment you have, either you have public cloud or private cloud, the definition changes. If it's a public cloud, if you have cloud in public, that's internet. If you have cloud with private, that's internet. So what is cloud computing? So cloud computing is compute environment over either internet or intranet. So that's why if you see, all of you have said, someone has said it's a shared service. Someone has said, get something over the network. Every definition is right. So how do you access that? So whoever said shared service, how do we access that shared service? So to work on AWS, you don't need anything apart from a laptop, a machine, and internet connection. So they have, not AWS for that matter, any cloud provider, they have their compute environment somewhere, and they are allowing us to use that compute environment using internet or intranet, right? So that's what it is. That's what cloud computing is. And you'll find a lot of definition in the web, and a lot of people have said a lot of things. Like Steve Jobs uh, once said that, if I don't need a hard disk in my computer if I can get to the server faster. So someone of you say that you some storage service, right? So it is similar to that. So you have your storage service, you have your storage somewhere provisioned by the cloud provider, and you access that service using internet or internet. So every definition, whatever definition you see, Scott McNealy, who was the CEO of Sun Microsystems, again, if you read it out, you see that this is what each one of them mean. That uh, this is what cloud computing is. So we build the infrastructure that goes in the data center that facilitates. So what Scott McNealy said. So he said that we're moving out of ice age and we're going to the participation age, right? So build we build infrastructure that goes in the data center that facilitates it. You do use same time, Microsoft Link, a lot of messaging services. You use email, Yahoo, Google, right? There are Instagram, Facebook. What do you think? I mean, in a current environment, in today's world, whatever data we have, 90% of those data were generated in the last 10 years. How can I get so much of, if every company has to have their own data center, it will be huge, right? So that's why Steve Jobs' definition makes so much of sense, that I don't need a hard disk. So they have iCloud, right? So I don't need a hard disk. If I had iCloud, I can store all my data in iCloud, and I can do away with, say, if I want to run this computer, I would need only 10 or say 20 gigs of hard disk. And in my iCloud, I'll have 1 terabyte of storage. Obviously, I'll have to pay for that, but I won't have to buy a highly expensive and premium SSD storage, right? If storage is your uh, requirement. So again, this is Gartner hype cycle. I don't want to go into this in detail. It will take a lot of time. So it started with, when the innovation started of cloud, it got a lot of hype, and it went down, and then it started taking pace again. All right. So long back, more than 10 years, 5 years back. So okay. So now cloud computing is reality. I'm running a business. 95% of the startups which are currently or who have started in the last, say, 5 years or 4 years or 1 to 5 years, 95% to 97% of them are using cloud, some cloud service or the other. So it does not matter whether it's public or private, as long as you are using cloud, it's a cloud. So 95 to 97% of all the startups are using cloud right now, and the on-premise data centers are moving away because of cost benefits. I'll discuss the cost benefits going forward. So cloud computing, what is cloud computing? I have given you a very layman terms definition. So if you want to define cloud computing in one line, I would say it is compute using virtualization over internet, or if you use compute over virtualization as computing over internet or intranet. That's what cloud computing is in single line. You don't need to read so many lines, or it'll confuse you more. Very simple definition, one liner, everyone will be able to understand. That's what it is. And there's a lot of misconception about cloud. Someone thinks cloud is this one, someone thinks cloud is that one. So I hope the confusion is clear now. What is cloud computing? Whatever we have discussed so far. Okay. Now, what are the advantages of cloud computing? One of the biggest, you can save a lot of time. Sorry, a lot of money. You can scale as you need. You don't need to worry about land, a particular data center. Okay, so I'll go to the advantages after some time. Again, this is uh, okay. Now, what are the different types of cloud services, and what are the different types of cloud deployment? So we have been talking about public cloud, private cloud. What are those actually? Right. Uh, yeah. So okay. So what are the different services of cloud? Service models basically. We have infrastructure as a service. We have platform as a service. We have software as a service, and rest all anything as a service. Again, uh, that's something which is not defined, but yes, that's it. So let me draw a few diagrams to show you what do I mean. Now think of your typical data center environment. Okay, so what do you have? You have something called a server. Sorry. You have something called a server. So again, server is what your compute capacity. You have CPU and RAM. That's it. That's what a server is. Obviously, it has a lot of other stuff, but that is the basic of server. Then, along with server, you need to have storage. This is what your storage would be, right? And storage will be attached to your server, right? And it will form a group, and you might run applications on top of it. You'll be running, you might run databases on top of it. You might run applications on top of it. Whatever you want can run on top of it. So again, you need to have something called a network. You need to have uh, everything because you don't want unsolicited access to your infrastructure. So you'll have network, you'll have firewalls and stuff. So think about it. To set up this, even a very small company, you need all these stuff. Again, this is network. Then you'll need maybe some domain name, right, which will access your your server here. You'll have users, a lot of users who will be accessing, users within your data center for your company, and you'll have someone monitoring things. Uh, so a monitoring part. So think about it. This is your typical data center, right? What are these? So first thing, what is this? This portion, this portion, this portion. What are these? All these included. What it is called? It is infrastructure, right? So if you want to start a company, you need to have an IT infrastructure. If you are using, of course, if you are using on-premise data center, you have to buy all these things. You have to set up a data center wherein you'll have all your servers, all your databases, application setting. Okay, so this is infrastructure, right? So if you want to start your own company, you'll have to have an IT infrastructure in place. So think about it. You'll have to set up your entire environment. Now think of a different scenario wherein you do not need to do the setup. You just buy the service of infrastructure. What I mean by that is, suppose you want to have pizza. So you want to have pizza 7 days. I think all of you are aware of Big Bang Theory. So Sheldon has a specific, what to say, food schedule. So every Thursday would have pizza, right? So you want to have pizza 4 days a month. You want to have Thai food 4 days a month, Indian food or Chinese food 4 days a month. So there are two ways. One thing is you set up your environment, right? For pizza, you'll have to have pizza burner, microwave oven, blah, this, that. Set up, create pizza or make pizza, oven it, and then have it or eat it. That is one option. Another option is go and buy from a pizza place. So the first one is your infrastructure. You're setting up an infrastructure and you're using it as an end user. You're eating the pizza. And the second case, you're going to Pizza Hut or Papa John's, whatever, They have the infrastructure. You're going and having pizza. You're paying for everything what they have done for their infrastructure, for their cooking, all the I don't know what those things are called, salt, pepper, everything. You are just having the pizza. That's it. That's your end goal. So similarly, if you think about infrastructure as a service, whatever I have discussed till now, this is your infrastructure, and every IT company would have its infrastructure. So what if instead of creating an infrastructure, you go ahead and buy it, take it as a service from a service provider? As I was saying, every IT company has its own infrastructure. Now, what if you don't bring an oven? What if you don't buy the pizza material or Thai food or curry or Indian oven or biryani tawa? You don't buy those things. You just take the service from someone who already has those things. So that is when you do that, that is infrastructure as a service. All right. I hope I was clear. Any questions? All right. Platform as a service. Now I'll talk in terms of IT because if I talk about IT, that'll be easier for me to make you understand what platform as a service is. So let's take another scenario of Java coding. So all of us know what Java coding is, right? So suppose you are doing coding for uh, you're starting a company and you want to do some Java coding. What are the things you need? Of course, you'll need a machine or server, whatever you might say. Basically, CPU and RAM, and a lot of other stuff, motherboard and stuff also, and some storage. Now, if you think about it, this is also infrastructure on a small scale, but yes, this is also infrastructure. So, if you think about it, this is also this is also an infrastructure on a very small scale. You are using a very small CPU, uh, low capacity CPU, very small amount of RAM, very low amount of hard disk, but still it's an infrastructure. Then on top of it, you need something called JVM to run Java, right? If it's a web server or Java, any other framework, you'll need JVM on top of it. So then you'll need something called SDK or JDK, Java Development Kits, like Eclipse. So for Python, if you're using, so if you think if you take an example of Python, you'll need a Python web service framework. You'll need Django, right? For AWS, you'll need Boto, and on top of it, you'll do all the Python coding and stuff, right? So now, of course, you'll need. Sorry, one thing I have missed. You'll need the Java also. Now, currently, I think it's Java 8 or Java 9, whatever. You'll need Java also. Now, here, if you think about it, the entire thing will have to be maintained and managed by you. That means whenever a new release of Java comes in, you'll have to upgrade your Java. Whenever a new release of Eclipse or JVM comes in, you'll have to do the upgradation. JDK, JVM. So you're running, say, Windows Vista. Of course, Java 8 does not support Windows Vista, right? So you'll have to upgrade from Windows Vista to say Windows 8 or Windows 10. You'll have to do it. So accordingly, you'll have to upgrade your CPU and RAM also, and might be storage as well. Similar is the case with Python. Now, what if someone gives you everything as a whole, gives you the entire platform so that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to worry about anything, and just code, just write your, you know, super Java code. Don't need to worry about any one of these. So if you are using something like this, you are using platform as a service. Just a very, I took, I chose to, take example of Java, but yes, it can be anything. So that is platform as a service, like middleware, database, different type of environment. Database is kind of platform as a service. Like say, if you are given Oracle database, you don't have to take care of versioning, you don't have to take care of an underlying operating system or anything. They have given you the given a platform of Oracle. Just go ahead, write PL SQL as an app DBA, do your work. That's it. Middleware services like MQCs, they have given you the entire platform. You just do and write the code, right? So that is platform as a service. Now the final one is software as a service. Uh, very easy example would be Google Drive, or not Google Drive, sorry, uh, Google Sheet or Google Docs, or we have what Google Presentation also. So think about it. Right now, I do not have a PPT. I do not have MS Office. It costs huge money, right? In MS Office in India is around 6,000 to anywhere between 6,000 to 10,000 or 12,000 rupees, based on the version you are taking. Either you're taking home or basic or professional, whatever you're taking, depending on that, you pay. And so again, you'll need infrastructure. You need a platform. You have to install your software. You'll have to install Microsoft, and then you'll be using Excel. That's a software. Now remove all of the things just beneath Excel. What do you need? You need Excel sheet. You want Excel sheet. You want to work on it and store it somewhere. So that's where Google Sheet comes into picture. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to install anything. You don't need to. You just need your machine and laptop and internet connection. Open Google Sheet and you know uh, do your work. It'll be stored somewhere in the cloud. You don't bother about what is there and what installation, non-installation, nothing. Use the software as a service. All right. So like CRM, email servers, uh, payment services, those are all software as a service. Like say app, Android and iOS. There are a lot of apps. So like Uber. Now in India we have Ola. Right? So in India we have Flipkart, Amazon app. That's a software you're using as a service. You do not need anything for that matter. The software is sitting somewhere else. Sorry, the infrastructure is sitting somewhere else. You're using the software over internet. That is actually the end product, and software as a service is meant for end users only, unlike platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. All right. Any questions?
Can you give me another example for the software service apart from the Google?
Okay. Uh, what about? Have you heard of SAP ERP?
Yep.
Yeah.
Heard
So
that.
that is kind of if they put it over cloud, that will be kind of you're using that ERP over cloud.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say what do I say? Okay, a PPT. As I said, I'm using PPT. So instead of that, I would be using say Google presentation, or what else? Email
Go to
for that
meeting.
matter. Kind of, yeah. But GoToMeeting is not, because you have to install this GoToMeeting software in your machine. I have it installed in my machine. So you just use the software, and for the desktop version, it is not software as a service. For the internet version, that is a software as a service. GoToMeeting. Thanks. It's a nice example. I'm using the desktop version, so I'm not using the SaaS of GoToMeeting. But I think you guys are using the internet version. That's a software which you're using over internet, which is streaming this video as I speak. right? It is taking from here and sending it over the network and giving it back to you. So that is software as a service because you have not installed anything on your machine. Does that answer your question? Want any more example? Email. Email is software as a service. Best example. You use email. We don't need to install anything. That's a software actually, right? Email server. We have specific email servers. Google has its own email server. Yahoo, Reddit, whatever. All of those have their own email MX servers. But we are using the end product. We don't need to install anything. Just use internet, go to Gmail, and bam, you are there.
Yeah,
Okay.
how do we know whether it is a software or platform? How would I differentiate?
Yeah. So actually, see, the thing is whether platform is which technology you work in. Venue, right?
Okay. Yes,
Okay. So you know PL SQL, right?
yes.
So suppose you want to create a tool using Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the tool which you create, suppose you have created a tool,
Okay.
है ना? Using Oracle and PL SQL. Very simple example. Obviously, it's not a practical example. I'm just trying to make you understand how do you differentiate between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So you're using PL SQL and Oracle to create a tool. You have created the tool, and you don't want people to install the tool in their machine, so that you give it you know and you provision it in such a way or create it in such a way that they can connect to the internet and use the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is software as a service. Now
So
when you create,
which I was developed, which means which I
no,
developed
not the
that tool.
no, not which you developed. Yeah, the tool which you developed and which is getting used by the user using internet, that is software as a service. Platform as a service is if you are using PL SQL and Oracle, there are two things. One thing is two ways you can do it. One way is you install PL SQL and install Oracle in your own machine and all the other prerequisites. You have to have Linux, you have to have all the patches, all the latest RPM packages installed. You have to install it. If you're doing it in your machine, you have to install Linux, you have to install the all the latest packages required by Oracle, then install the Oracle database, then the PL SQL package, and then use it. Now, instead of that, what if someone gives you the database as is and the coding platform as is? You don't have to install anything. You don't have to take care of any of the operating system patches or whatsoever. You just write PL/SQL code and use it to call Oracle database. That is also sitting somewhere. Your PL/SQL, where you write PL/SQL, I don't know what is that called, but that is also sitting somewhere. You are not using your machine. You are using internet or cloud to use the platform provided by Oracle and platform provided by PL SQL over cloud to do your work. That is platform as a service.
Which means
So that,
if I am using software as a service, it is applicable for platform as service as well, right? So
right,
both
right.
software and platform at a time we are using. As a user, we are using.
No, no, no. You're not. See, user matlab end user. We do not.
Example, if I am in user space, we are using
Uh,
both software and platform, right?
no, no, no. So see, platform as a service sits on top of infrastructure as a service. Software as a service sits on top of platform as a service because you create the software using platform and you use platform on top of infrastructure. So if you go to the user space, user is not the platform as a service or platform or infrastructure, whatever it is. I don't know what Uber is written on. It might be VB.NET, it might be Python, it might be JSON. I don't know. I just use it. That's it.
Okay.
I don't know Yahoo or Google. I don't know whether Google is written in C or Java or C sharp. I just use it. I just use Gmail. But
So in
the
this
people,
case, if they written on C sharp, it comes as a software or platform.
no, see, to write something or to create something, you need a platform,
Okay.
right? Like middleware, database, programming toolkits, development kits, right? All those things are platform on top of which you bring or you create your, not create, sorry, uh, you create your software, so you create your products using those platforms. But the platform sits on top of infrastructure.
So which means all the platform, without the platform, we cannot write any software, right? We cannot use the software, right?
Yeah,
In a
of
real.
course.
Okay.
Yes, of course. How can you write a Java code without a laptop?
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
write it on, right, if you write it on a page, will it run? No. So similarly,
Okay.
so so that's the platform. Your laptop is your platform, wherein you have your CPU, you have your RAM, you have storage, you have JDK, you have Java, you have Eclipse. That is your platform. You're logging into it and writing code.
Okay.
But that CPU, RAM, and storage and all those things, those are the infrastructure. And JVM, Java, those are the platforms which you are using to create a product.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
no problem. Any other questions? All right. So now we'll see about no deployment models. Again, very simple. It will hardly take 5 minutes. So there are different types of. Okay. Before going into that, what does AWS fit here? We have for AWS, we have all. We have infrastructure as a service, which is the main. I mean, that's where they're earning their money from. The highest revenue generation is from infrastructure as a service. They have a lot of platform as a service. And if you talk about software as a service, they have Amazon Retail, which is sitting on AWS itself. Not all, but some of it. All right. So AWS falls in all the arenas, and whatever I have not discussed, that falls under anything as a service. Again, anything as a service is a very vague term. There's nothing called anything as a service, but yes, you can make anything as a service. Suppose like MongoDB, they have in MongoDB there's something called MongoDB Atlas. So they're saying they're selling MongoDB Atlas as database as a service, wherein there's nothing called database as a service. Database falls in the arena of platform as a service, right? But they are selling it as database as a service. So you can make anything serviceable that becomes anything as a service. So again, it's a very vague term. There's no example as such. So AWS comes everywhere. All right. So public cloud. Now, what are the different types of deployments of cloud? Now we have discussed about cloud. We have discussed about cloud services. Now, how are the different deployments? If you and again, rewind a little bit and think about the definition of cloud computing. It's virtualized compute environment over internet or intranet. When I say compute environment, now let me broaden the scope of compute environment. You have storage, not only compute. You have storage. You have network. You have domain systems. You have notification systems. So all those come under computing. So I now again the definition of cloud computing remains the same. But the moment you dig into a particular cloud service like AWS or Microsoft Azure, whatever, you broaden the definition of compute for that particular service provider. For example, AWS has products on all these areas: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. But AWS is a cloud compute service provider. So for AWS, the definition of compute would be software, platform, and infrastructure both. Now, if you think about, say, I don't know, OpenStack or Rackspace, again, vague. So if you think about OpenStack, they might be providing only infrastructure or only software as a service, not platform, not infrastructure. So for them, the definition of compute would be software as a service only. So that's what the underlying base definition of cloud computing remains the same, which is compute using virtualization over internet or intranet. That remains the same, and you keep on changing the definition of compute as per the cloud service provider. Now, what are the deployment models? We have public cloud, we have private cloud, hybrid cloud. There are some community clouds also. What is public cloud? Public cloud is cloud over internet. All right, so multi-tenant, that means a lot of people can use it. If you have internet, you can use the public cloud environment. That's what public cloud is. So AWS is a public cloud environment. Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, GCP, IBM Bluemix, all are public cloud platform. They are all public cloud provider. Private cloud is single tenant, which means cloud over intranet, not internet. So you you need to you need to log into the network of your corporate environment or your data center and use that, then it becomes private cloud. That is not over internet, but that is over intranet. Still it is cloud. And hybrid is mix of both public and private. So it might happen that the best use case of hybrid cloud would be financial financial providers like banks, Bank of America, the State Bank of India, what else, JPMC, or healthcare services for that, these organizations have pretty sensitive data, so they want to put it over to cloud. So what they do is they keep a section of private cloud, section of some portion of their business on private cloud and some portion of their business on public cloud, and they are interconnected or might not be also. That is hybrid cloud, wherein you have both public and private cloud at the same place. All right, so there are a lot of private cloud providers also, Red Hat OpenStack, then what else? Rackspace, VMware, HPE. Those are all private cloud providers. And public cloud, we have mainly, obviously, there are a lot of others also. We have AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the others, as I said. Community is only, very special purpose cloud or group. So there's not much, what to say, presence of community cloud in the market. So very small group of people start a cloud environment for storing only a few group of people stuff. It can be anything. Okay. So this is traditional hardware, and how does it benefit actually? I'll come back to that. So this is traditional hardware or software, very fancy. They have all bells and whistles, full support, everything. I mean, you pay a lot. So let me draw why cloud computing. Let me draw another picture, or let me come back to the previous picture. So this is just an example, just to show you how it is beneficial. So suppose here I give CPU usage. This y-axis has my CPU usage, and x-axis has say days or weekdays. Okay, now suppose Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, I'm showing it on a very low scale, just to make you understand. But you can extrapolate it to any level. And now this is CPU usage in gigahertz. say 1 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, 3, 4, and you have an application. So what you have is, say on Monday, your usage is this much, say 1.2 gigahertz. Tuesday, your usage increases to say 2 gigahertz. Okay, Wednesday, again, remains somewhere around 2. Thursday, a lot, goes up to say 4 point something. Friday, 3.5. Saturday again comes down to this one, less than 1. Sunday, less than 0.5. So let me put that in perspective using graph. So this is how your usage would be. Monday, these are the points. So this is how your graph would look like, right? So this is how my graph would be. Now, if you have on-premise data center, what will you do? Of course, this is a very production critical environment. You cannot have performance impact at all, and it has to work as fast as it can all the time. There's a certain product or some application, is the usage of CPU of that particular application. So in your data center environment, what you do is you'll buy hardware at this level, say 4.2 gigahertz. You buy the biggest one available, or so biggest one is 4.5 right now. So 4.5 gigahertz of CPU, right? So now, all right. So say a few $1,000 or whatever, say $1,000 for a week, per week. This is the so in data center, on your corporate data center, you lease your hardware. You don't buy it actually. You lease it. So suppose the lease amount is $1,000 per week. Say 60,000 rupees per week. Now think about it. All these are wastages, right? These here you are paying unnecessarily. So basically, if you think about it, you're using maybe what out of 1,000, you're maybe using $300 a week. You're paying 700 rupees extra, right? What can be another scenario? Again, your data center environment only. What can be the other scenario? So I don't know what color to choose. Okay, so you can buy CPU with average. So 4.2 is the highest, and point say 4 is the lowest. So 4.6, your average is say 2.3. You buy CPU at this level, 2.3 gigahertz. That is your average usage. For example, just mean, not average, maybe whatever. So again, take this scenario. What will happen now? This is fine. The application is super fast. This is also fine. This is also fine. Now these 2 days will go haywire. I mean, your users will say, my application is running. Your product is so slow that I can't even open it for some time. We're fine here and here. So this is again very, very risky. I should not do it ever. If you have a production critical environment, and SLA makes a lot of, like online portals, banks, they need really fast applications. So if you provision your hardware like this, you're doomed. You won't have any option to go and buy or increase the capacity. All right. Now, how does cloud work? So let me remove this and this one also. So cloud is very different from all of it. So it will work as it is required. So on you need 1.2, you pay for 1.2 and you use 1.2. Here you need say 2.2, use this much only. Don't need to provision more. Pay for this much only. And here, if you say use whatever to, so I hope you get the idea. Use as you go and pay as you go. So here it's $1,000 a week, but you are using only 300. Here might be say 500, but your production environment is gone because of these two nodal points. Can't do anything. But in cloud, you actually pay only $300 per week, and you get the thing which you need. No tension of going your application haywire, no tension of paying extra. Pay as you go, use as you go, and provision as you go. So that's what I say when I said scalable. That's why I said, I mean, you can scale it as and when needed. All right. So that is the biggest advantage of cloud. Like, in your on-premise data center, you'll see these kind of stuff. Acura concept, like all full support, everything is there, right? And lease hardware software like this. Cloud taxi, pay as you go. If you want a limousine, buy it, pay for the limousine. Want to ride in a Ferrari? Book an Uber if it is there. Whoever uses Ferrari, book an Uber, ride in Ferrari, and come out. You don't need to buy Ferrari for that. You don't have money, want to go in an electric car? Fine. Book an electric car, pay the minimum, and get down. So this is on demand hardware and software. Pay as you go. No maintenance costs, no upgrades. There are a little bit, but yes, not as much as on-premise data center. All right. Okay, then we'll stop here.
I'm sure you enjoyed learning from this video. Please like the video, and if you have any doubts regarding this video, please comment us in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such informative videos. Do look out for other related videos in our playlist. For more information, visit our website now. Keep learning with IntelliPat.